In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on January 13, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Phoenix Suns versus Miami Heat. The Phoenix Suns head into Cassia Center to face the Miami Heat on Tuesday night, and it really feels like two teams moving in opposite directions at the moment. The Suns are coming off wins over the Wizards and Knicks, with the Pistons on deck, and they have taken 10 of their last 13 games, which tells you their confidence is pretty high right now. Phoenix is still without Jalen Green, but outside of that absence, they are basically going into this one at close to full strength. They just handled Washington by 19 points, and that result fits the broader pattern. This team has quietly turned into one of the hottest and most reliable groups in the league lately. They have also been a cash machine against the spread, sitting at 28-11 against the spread, which is close to a 72% hit rate, and numbers like that tend to catch the eye of anyone who even casually checks their betting app on a regular basis. Miami, on the other side, is stuck in a very different stretch. They have dropped games to the Thunder and Pacers. They play the Celtics next, and they are riding a 3-game losing streak, which always adds a bit of tension to a locker room. Norman Powell is listed as questionable with lower back soreness, and while Miami has generally been competitive this season, their recent form has not matched their overall reputation. The Heat have still covered in 22 of 39 games, so it has not been disastrous from an against-the-spread standpoint, but they have just one win in their last 5, and all 3 of their recent losses came by an average margin of more than 20 points. Those blowouts all came on the road, so returning to South Beach should help. They are 13-6 straight up at home, which usually gives them a decent safety net. The issue is that their offense has gone ice cold at the worst possible time. In that loss to Indiana, they hit only 4 threes, and they have finished under 100 points twice in their last 3 outings, which really kills any rhythm. Some nights they look like they can score 130 plus, other nights they can barely get out of the 90s, and that sort of personality swing is tough to trust if you are putting money on them. Here is the thing, the Heat as home underdogs always feel tempting on paper, especially for anyone who likes the idea of buying low on a team with a strong culture and a good coach. But when you do not know which version of their offense is walking through the door, it turns into more guesswork than you would like. Phoenix, in contrast, has been far more predictable in a good way. Over their last 10 games, they are 8-2 straight up and 9-1 against the spread, and they are listed as 27-10-2 against the spread on the season in the broader numbers discussed. Honestly, you could say they have reached the point where backing them has almost become a default move, simply because they keep rewarding that faith. So even if this matchup feels close to a coin flip talent-wise, it is easier to lean toward the group that has strung together 3 straight wins and just smoked Washington, rather than the one that has recently been hammered by Indiana and Minnesota. The line is short, the margin for error is small, and consistency becomes a big deal in that kind of setup. Right now, the Suns feel like the more trustworthy side to keep this hot stretch going on the road. As our first pick for this matchup, the Phoenix Suns to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Phoenix Suns are averaging 114.7 points on 46.3% shooting and allowing 111.8 points on 46.7% shooting. They are hitting 36.3% of their threes and 79.5% at the foul line, while also pulling down 43.5 rebounds per game, which helps them control enough possessions to keep their offense afloat even when the shots are not falling perfectly. The Miami Heat are averaging 119.4 points on 46.9% shooting and allowing 117.7 points on 46% shooting. They are knocking down 36.9% from deep and 79% at the free throw line, and they are grabbing 45.6 rebounds per game, which gives them a bit of an edge on the glass. On paper, those numbers scream offense, and they might even tempt you into thinking about a high-scoring shootout, especially when you see both teams living near 37% from beyond the arc. But recent form adds some nuance here. Miami's scoring has swung wildly, and those games where they struggled to reach 100 points stand out. When a team has that kind of variance, it tends to drag the total into uncomfortable territory because one cold shooting stretch can sink the number even if the opponent plays well. Phoenix has enough firepower to hold their own, but they are also comfortable in games where the pace dips, as their defensive numbers show they can live with winning in the low 1-teens rather than turning everything into a track meet. So while the raw season averages hint at big scoring, the recent shooting slumps for Miami, combined with Phoenix's ability to defend well enough and slow things down when needed, point toward a game that is more likely to land below the projected total than sail over it. Especially if the Heat have another off night from deep, that alone can shave a serious chunk off the combined score. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Minnesota Timberwolves versus Milwaukee Bucks. The Minnesota Timberwolves head into Pfizer Forum to take on the Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday night, and this one really feels like a scheduling gift for the home side given who is actually available. Minnesota just beat the Spurs, split a set with the Cavs, and has the Rockets up next, and winning 16 of their last 22 games tells you this group has been in a strong groove overall. The problem is that groove gets tested hard here. The Timberwolves are going to be shorthanded, with Anthony Edwards ruled out, and on top of that they are also missing Rudy Gobert in this spot. So you have your top scorer and your defensive anchor both off the floor, which is a huge chunk of what has made them so dangerous this season. Edwards has been carrying a heavy offensive load at 28.9 points per game. Gobert has been living in the double-double range, and suddenly that responsibility has to be spread to guys who are not used to being first in the scouting report. Without Edwards, only one other player is averaging more than 14.7 points per game, Julius Randle at 22.0, so it is not exactly a deep list of high-volume creators in this setup. There is also a bit of context tucked in there. Edwards is essentially sitting due to a minor foot issue, more like load management so it does not get worse, while Gobert is out because of a one-game suspension for his 5th flagrant foul. So this is not a typical injury situation where you can shrug and hope someone plays through it. You pretty much know you are not getting those guys. Milwaukee, by contrast, looks a lot more stable. The Bucks are coming off a win over the Lakers and a loss to the Nuggets, with the Spurs next on the schedule, and they have split their last 12 games, which is not spectacular, but it is also not a crisis. Miles Turner is listed as questionable with an illness, but he has not missed a game all season, so it is reasonable to expect him to be in uniform if he feels anywhere near normal. Outside of that watch status, the rest of the core is good to go, and that matters when you are talking about a team that leans heavily on its main group. Their home and road splits tell a funny story. Giannis Antetokounmpo and company are at least serviceable at home at 9-9, compared to a rough 8-13 mark away from home. The numbers are not pretty, but when you compare that to Minnesota being 11-8 on the road versus 15-6 at home, you can see that this version of the Timberwolves is clearly more comfortable on its own floor. Now you are sending them on the road without their best all-around player and their best defender, and that usually tilts things even further toward the home side. The Timberwolves have taken 8 of their 14 losses away from home, and now they have to figure things out without Ant-Man in the lineup. If the Bucks genuinely want to climb the standings, this is exactly the kind of game they need to handle, especially with this being their first home game in almost 2 weeks and coming off a disappointing loss to Denver. Situationally, this screams bounce-back opportunity with no excuses baked in. The line is not asking you to lay a massive number, so with the visitors missing both Edwards and Gobert, it makes a lot of sense to lean toward Milwaukee to control this one in front of its own fans. The matchup, the absences, and the spot all gently push the same way. As our first pick for this matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Minnesota's offensive and defensive numbers paint a picture of a team that usually plays with pace and efficiency. The Timberwolves are averaging 119.9 points on 48.3% shooting while giving up 114.8 points on 46% shooting. They are hitting 36.9% from 3 and 75.5% from the free throw line, and they are pulling down 44.8 rebounds per game, which keeps them involved on both ends of the floor. Milwaukee's profile is a bit different but still points toward scoring. The Bucks are averaging 112.9 points on 48.5% shooting and allowing 115.1 points on 46.4% shooting. They are actually very dangerous from beyond the arc at 39.5%, and while they sit at 73.9% from the free throw line, they still manage to generate enough offense to stay in high-scoring environments. They take down 40.6 rebounds per game, which is not overwhelming, but it is enough to keep them competitive on the glass. Put those lines together, and you are looking at two teams that usually see scores drift upward. The Timberwolves' efficiency from the field and the Bucks' perimeter shooting both push toward a game where baskets come in bunches. Even with Minnesota missing some star power, there is often a strange effect where other players become more aggressive, and that can sometimes keep the scoreboard moving faster than you would expect. Defenses have to adjust to new focal points, rotations change, and a bit of chaos can actually be friendly to the total. So with Minnesota's season scoring average hovering around the high 1 teens and Milwaukee's combination of shooting and pace, it is reasonable to expect this matchup to produce a healthy number of points. The defensive numbers for both sides show that they are far from lockdown units, and if either team gets hot from outside, the total can climb quickly. All of that leans toward a game that has a strong chance to push past the projected number rather than stall out. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Chicago Bulls versus Houston Rockets. The Chicago Bulls roll into Toyota Center to take on the Houston Rockets on Tuesday, and both teams are carrying some baggage into this one, just in very different ways. The Bulls just lost to the Pistons, bounced back with a win over the Mavericks, and have the Jazz waiting next. And winning 9 of their last 15 games at least shows they are not completely falling apart. Houston's story is rougher at the moment. The Rockets dropped games to the Trail Blazers and the Kings. They see the Thunder next, and they are sitting on a 3-game skid that has taken a lot of shine off that strong home reputation. In terms of personnel, the Bulls are listed as still missing Josh Giddey, Zach Collins, and Kobe White, which leaves them looking thinner than usual. That win over Dallas probably did a lot for the locker room mood, but it came after a stretch where they had been wobbling, and now Kobe White being on the report adds one more concern to the list. Even so, this is still a group that knows how to scrap and hang around when they are supposed to be outmatched. On the other side, the Rockets have ruled out Fred VanVleet, Tari Eason, and Dorian Finney-Smith. So while Houston is described as the better team and the one that should be able to stop the bleeding on its home floor, it is also not exactly rolling in fully healthy depth. They have been a force at home overall, sitting at 11-2 straight up, which is an excellent sign if you are only thinking about who wins the game outright. Here is the thing, though. You are not just picking a winner here. You are weighing whether you can trust Houston laying a big number against a team that is beaten up but not helpless. Recent results make that hard to embrace. The Rockets have been underwhelming against the spread, going 3-7 in their last 10. Since December, they are only 2-4 against the spread when asked to cover as a double-digit favorite. And 3 of those failed covers were not just close calls, they turned into outright losses. That is the sort of pattern that makes you think twice before backing them in another inflated favorite role. Honestly, that is the crux of it. Houston at home should still be the side that controls most of the game, but that does not automatically mean they cover a big spread. The Rockets are labeled the better team, but they have also been underachieving, while the Bulls, even banged up, can still grind and keep things respectable. Getting that many points with a team that has at least shown it can compete in spots and facing a favorite that has struggled to justify big numbers naturally pushes you toward the underdog when you are talking about the spread. As our first pick for this matchup, the Chicago Bulls to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Bulls are averaging 117.3 points on 47.3% shooting while allowing 120.8 points on that same 47.3% mark. They are knocking down 35.9% of their threes and 78.3% from the free throw line, and they are hauling in 45.8 rebounds per game, which gives them plenty of possessions and second chances. Defensively, those numbers are not exactly flattering, allowing 120.8 points and 36.7% shooting from deep suggests that opponents are getting clean looks and capitalizing. So even when Chicago scores well, they usually invite the other side into a track meet. Houston's profile lines up nicely with a high-scoring script too. The Rockets are putting up 117.9 points on 48.1% shooting and giving up 110.8 points on 46.3% shooting. They hit 37.2% from beyond the arc and 76.7% from the line, and they are pulling down 49.1 rebounds per game, which is a strong number on the glass. That rebounding edge keeps their offense humming and extends possessions, and it also means more total shot attempts on both sides. Put it all together, and you have two teams that score in the high teens on average and are not exactly famous for shutting opponents down. The Bulls give up a lot of points, the Rockets can score efficiently and rebound well, and both sides have enough shooting from deep to turn a normal quarter into a quick 30-point burst if they get hot. Even with the injuries, that kind of statistical base often leads to a game where the scoring rhythm never really slows down for long. So when you combine Chicago's leaky defense with Houston's offensive capabilities and rebounding strength, plus both teams' season scoring averages sitting in the 100 teens, it makes sense to lean toward a total that climbs past the projected number rather than stalls out. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. San Antonio Spurs versus Oklahoma City Thunder. The San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder run it back at Paycom Center on Tuesday night, and there is a familiar feel to this matchup already. San Antonio is coming in off a win over the Celtics and a loss to the Timberwolves, with the Bucks on deck, and winning 26 of their last 40 games paints them as a team that has quietly been in pretty solid form overall. Oklahoma City is not exactly slumping either. The Thunder have taken care of the Heat and the Grizzlies, and with the Rockets up next, they have stacked 37 wins in their last 44 regular season outings, which speaks to a team that has settled into one of the more consistent grooves in the league. In terms of bodies, the Spurs are still slightly short-handed with Devin Vassell out, so their main scoring and playmaking options get squeezed a bit more than usual. On the other side, the Thunder have ruled out Isaiah Hartenstein and Nikola Topic, so they are not perfectly clean on the injury front either. These two have already met 3 times this season, and the Spurs have taken all 3, with the last 2 coming by double digits, which naturally makes them a tempting underdog if you just look at those head-to-head results on the surface. Here is the thing though, that past success sits next to some recent warning signs. San Antonio has dropped 3 of its last 5 and is playing a 3rd road game in 4 nights, which is the kind of schedule spot that can catch up with even a confident group. Tired legs tend to show up in the second half, especially on defense and on the glass, and that is usually where a deeper or fresher opponent can blow a game open. The Thunder have been in terrific form and, as the original breakdown notes, have been getting pieces back from injury overall, which changes the feel of this meeting compared to earlier ones. Revenge angles get talked about a lot, but when a strong team has already been swept 3 times in the same season, that usually sharpens their focus more than usual. You can imagine stretches where the Spurs hang around and keep things respectable, but the context really leans toward the home side handling its business across 4 quarters. So while the earlier wins by San Antonio are hard to ignore, the combination of their recent slip, the heavy road schedule spot, and their missing contributor against a surging Thunder group makes it reasonable to expect a one-sided result on the scoreboard. This shapes up as the kind of game where the superior team at home, with that revenge itch, has every chance to win comfortably and cover as the favorite. As our first pick for this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The San Antonio Spurs are averaging 118.1 points on 47.3% shooting and allowing 112.6 points on 46% shooting. They are hitting 34.6% from 3 and 79.7% at the free throw line, and they are pulling down 46.8 rebounds per game, which means they usually generate enough possessions and efficiency to keep games from feeling sluggish. Defensively, they allow 36% shooting from deep, which can invite opponents into some pretty decent looks from outside. That combination of respectable offense and a sometimes vulnerable perimeter defense tends to push scores upward unless the pace slows or the rotations get very conservative. On the other side, the Oklahoma City Thunder are averaging 121.4 points on 8.9% shooting and allowing 108.4 points on 43.7% shooting. And that 8.9% field goal number clearly jumps out as unrealistic, but the key takeaway in the original analysis is that they are described as a high-scoring group. They are shooting 35.5% from beyond the arc and 82.6% from the free throw line, and they are giving up 37.6% shooting from deep while grabbing 43.9 rebounds per game. Put together, those numbers paint a picture of 2 teams that can both score and allow points in bunches. Season averages in the 100 teens on the offensive side, with opponents also finding success from outside, usually create a baseline expectation of a healthy combined total. However, the original angle leans against that instinct and expects fewer points than the line suggests. There is a logic to that. When one team has already dominated the season series and the other is looking for a statement response, defensive intensity can rise, and long stretches of half-court basketball can drag the total down, even when both offenses are talented. If the game tilts toward a more controlled pace, or if one side struggles to find clean looks for extended stretches, those shiny season averages do not always show up in a single night. So even with both teams carrying strong scoring numbers into the matchup, the mix of defensive potential, three-point variance, and the possibility of a tighter, more focused style of play makes an under on the projected total a reasonable stance. You are essentially betting that the game shape will lean more toward grinding execution than an all-out shootout. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.